metal scene has had its share of tragedies, from the plane crash that killed Randy Rhoades to the loss of Chuck Schuldiner due to cancer. But perhaps the most devastating of them all is the murder of Dimebag Darrell, the legendary guitarist for the revolutionary heavy metal band Pantera. Dimebag was murdered on stage by a crazed fan in the middle of a performance in 2004. The murder received widespread national attention and came as a shock to the global metal community, who worshipped Dimebag as one of the greatest guitarists of his generation. It's been years since his death, and fans still discuss what could have been if he hadn't died, including the ultimate what-if question. Could Pantera have reunited with its classic lineup had Dimebag lived? So what led to the sudden and unexpected loss of Dimebag Darrell? Stay tuned as we explore the story of this revered guitar hero, from his rise alongside Pantera to the aftermath of their breakup and the events that led to his murder. The death of Dimebag Darrell is one of the worst losses ever experienced by the metal community and the rock world as a whole. Dimebag is recognized as a highly gifted musician whose guitar playing drove the sound of Pantera and influenced countless bands. His talent in playing the instrument was prominent even at an early age. Darrell Lance Abbott was born on August 20th, 1966 in Ennis, Texas. His father was Jerry Abbott, who made a name for himself as a country music producer. Darrell and his elder brother, Vinnie Paul, were basically born with music in their blood, and his parents supported their musical endeavors even after they divorced in 1979. When Darrell turned 12, his father gifted him with his first guitar. Darrell was a huge fan of bands such as Black Sabbath, Van Halen, and especially Kiss, and often posed in front of the mirror wearing Ace Frehley's Kiss makeup while holding his guitar. Back then, that was the most he could do with his guitar. So his father started learning Kiss songs, which he used to teach little Darrell how to play the instrument. Darrell took such a liking to the guitar that he immensely improved as a player. When Darrell was 14, he entered a guitar contest in Dallas where Dean Zielinski, the founder of Dean Guitars, was a judge. Darrell won the competition, despite not being old enough to enter the club where it was held. He continued joining and winning other guitar competitions around Dallas, and eventually, organizers requested him not to join anymore because he kept winning every single time. In 1981, Darrell and his brother Vinnie formed Pantera, along with bassist Rex Brown and vocalist Terry Glaze. The group was managed by Darrell's father Jerry, who also produced their early albums. At the time, Pantera took on a glam metal aesthetic in their music and image, similar to the most popular bands of the 80s. The band wore spandex and makeup, used lots of hairspray, and Darrell gave himself the stage name Diamond Darrell. Pantera released 3 albums with Glaze from the early to mid-80s: Metal Magic, Projects in the Jungle, and I Am the Night. Unfortunately, they didn't sell as much as their glam metal counterparts. Glaze left Pantera in 1986 when the band wanted to move into heavier territory. He was replaced by Phil Anselmo, who would be the band's vocalist until their breakup in the early 2000s. Phil debuted on the band's 1989 album, Power Metal, which featured a heavier and faster sound, but was still grounded in the trappings of 80s-style glam metal. Much like their prior releases, the album failed to make an impact. In 1990, members of Pantera unanimously agreed on a complete overhaul of their sound and image. This led to the Cowboys from Hell era of the band, where they traded their spandex for streetwear and their glam style for a heavier groove-style approach based on thrash metal. The new Pantera made its debut with the 1990 album Cowboys from Hell, where Darrell got to unleash the full powers of his playing. The record was driven by his powerful riffing, complex solos, and his now famous guitar tone, which sounded like nothing before. In particular, Darrell was praised for the guitar solo on the track Cemetery Gates. The album was a success and brought Pantera widespread attention. The band followed it up with 1992's Vulgar Display of Power, considered as one of the most influential metal releases ever. The band continued evolving with their power groove style on this album, with even heavier riffs courtesy of Darrell. The album included one of the band's most famous songs, Walk, which has been immortalized as a heavy metal anthem for generations. Around this time, Darrell and the rest of the band gained a reputation of being heavy drinkers who partied hard. Darrell also dropped the Diamond moniker as it no longer fit the band's image and replaced it with his new stage name, Dimebag Darrell. Pantera's next record, Far Beyond Driven, was the band's first album to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 and is perhaps the heaviest record to do so. Despite this success, This period also saw the beginnings of the tensions that broke up the band. Singer Phil Anselmo became addicted to illegal substances and turned to alcohol, drinking so heavily that even his bandmates found it excessive. Phil's problems caused him to withdraw from the rest of the band, which is why their next album, The Great Southern Trendkill, was recorded in separate studios. Phil recorded in New Orleans while the rest of the band did their thing in Dallas. The subsequent touring didn't make things easier for the band, and Phil even clinically died during the tour after overdosing, which widened the rift between him and the rest of Pantera. In 2000, Pantera released its final studio album, Reinventing the Steel. After touring from 2000 to 2001, the band decided to take a break. During this time, Phil focused on other projects while other Pantera members waited for him to be available again. As time passed, Dimebag and Vinnie became increasingly impatient. Eventually, they concluded that Phil would not be returning and thus decided to call it quits, marking the end of Pantera. Dimebag and Vinnie focused on a new musical project, Damage Plan, launched in 2003 shortly after Pantera's breakup. The band's first and only album, Newfound Power, was released in February 2004. It didn't attain the heights of Pantera records, but the band believed that with excessive touring, it could build its own fan base. To promote their album, Damage Plan went on a tour performing in nightclubs around the country. The tour abruptly ended on December 8, 2004 at the Alrosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. As Damage Plan opened their set that night, Nathan Gale, a deranged ex-Marine and Pantera fan, went on stage and shot Dimebag multiple times at point-blank range, killing him on the spot. Gale also killed the band's head of security, Jeffrey Mayhem Thompson, a fan and a club employee, and injured 3 others before a Columbus police officer shot him. According to reports, club attendees noted Gale loitering outside the club before the concert and told others that he specifically wanted to see Damage Plan. Gale was said to scale a fence to gain entry into the club at around 10 p.m. when Damage Plan were about to take the stage. When Gale first shot Dimebag, the audience had no idea what was happening and thought it was part of a stage act until Gale started firing at the audience. Thompson tackled Gale, but was shot and killed in the ensuing struggle, while audience member Nathan Bray was fatally shot while trying to assist Dimebag and Thompson. Gale was believed to have shouted, "You broke up Pantera," at Dimebag after shooting him. Officer James Nidgemeyer responded to a 911 dispatch call within 3 minutes and entered the club through a back door. He finally stopped the crime by firing at Gale with a shotgun, killing him. In the aftermath, fans attempted to revive Dimebag until paramedics arrived. Dimebag was pronounced dead on the scene at the age of 38. What's even sadder is that he was murdered right in front of his brother Vinnie. The shooting incident and Dimebag's death made the national news, triggering an outpouring of grief from fans and peers. Notable music figures such as Eddie Van Halen, Zakk Wylde, Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains, and Corey Taylor of Slipknot attended Dimebag's funeral. He was buried alongside his mother in a Kiss casket donated by Gene Simmons, along with Eddie Van Halen's original 1979 Charvel Bumblebee guitar. Dimebag, a huge Van Halen fan, had requested Eddie for a replica of the guitar, but Eddie decided to give him his original guitar as a tribute. The death of Dimebag Darrell is one of the biggest losses not only for metal, but for the entire music world. He was a truly extraordinary talent, gone too soon, and left a legacy as one of the greatest to ever wield the guitar. Up to now, metal musicians look up to him as an influence, and always wondered what could have been if he continued making music. The world would have probably witnessed a Pantera reunion for the ages had Dimebag not been in Columbus on that fateful December night.